Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to your early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum. Here are some words of wisdom to start your day off well. And we'll see how well the internet works today because it is windy. And we had some pretty significant storms last night, which led to my friend Diane sending me a picture from her workplace where the outside is now a mess, an absolute mess. So I think someone will be doing a whole lot of cleanup there. So I just asked her if other things looked like they had been damaged on her way to work, and we'll have to see what we get for feedback on that. Good morning to whomever has just popped on. Oh, we jumped from 1 to 3 in about like that. So, but it's not rolling any names. I was a little concerned about my computer also because obviously my surge protector failed. Good morning, Peggy. Welcome, welcome. But it seems like everything reloaded and is okay. I didn't even think to shut it down. We haven't had anything of significance in terms of storms in so long that it wasn't even on my radar screen to shut it down. So, but it looks like it's doing okay. So that is good. So welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Janine. Glad you're here. So let's start with some breath. I feel the need for some breath this morning. Nice deep breath in and out. Expanding your belly in and out. Flushing out anything that no longer serves you. Good morning, Carolyn. Breathing in and out. And we have an interesting card today. It's one of those cards that provides a way of looking at something that can make a formerly unpalatable thing more palatable. Good morning, Cindy. Welcome. Glad you're here. Good morning. Good morning. So it's a different way to look at life and the things that buffet our life and are difficult in our life. And there's that concept that when we have an easy life, we don't really end up being the stellar human beings we could have been. There's nothing that has tested our mettle. There's nothing that has tempered us. And the concept of when we've gone through trials and tribulations and difficulties and whatever, it can help us grow into someone with a whole lot of grace and dignity and presence and sense of self. So would that there were kinder, gentler ways sometimes of becoming that magnificent person we're meant to be, but sometimes it comes through the difficulties, etc. So part of what reinforced that for me is I'm reading King, which is a new biography on Martin Luther King Jr. about Yay Fat, and repeatedly, good morning, Gwen, glad you're here, repeatedly, as a pastor, as a minister, he's talking to his congregation about the difficulty and the fight and the struggle. Good morning, Jonelle, glad you are here. Being what makes them stronger, braver, wiser, filled with grace, etc. Good morning, Abigail. Thank you for the fun little things. I'm going to grab a drink here. So if we can view those tests that life sends us, those difficulties, those dark nights of the soul, the valley of the shadow of death, however you want to look at it, the hard parts of life, as important for making us who we can possibly be. We have a choice at that point. When we stand at the fork of the road of difficulty, we decide whether it makes us the better person or whether we descend into bitterness and anger and frustration and all that other stuff. Doesn't mean we don't dance with those a little bit too, but that those most difficult points in our lives are often the opportunity to really become who we're meant to be. So that's kind of what this card is about today. It is a pilgrim card by Austin Repath. And we've had it way long ago, way long ago. It is precious vintage. Precious vintage. So think about yourself as this precious vintage as I'm reading the card. So another nice deep breath in and out. And think about this in terms of the difficulties in your life. Whether because of the long days on the road or simply because of something that can best be described as grace, you are open and alive in a way you have never been before. Good morning, Mel. Glad you're here. Beyond any thought for the days ahead, you find yourself accepting this moment, which rains down the truth of what the journey is about. I love that paragraph, and we're going to go back to it. You see into the mystery of your life. Like a crystal goblet, fragile and ever so easily shattered, you not only hold the wine, you shape it. Until one day, no longer afraid that your fragile vessel might be smashed, you realize that you have become the precious vintage. Wow, huh? And that kind of fits with the part in the book, King, where Martin Luther King Jr. has gotten to the point in life where he's not concerned about being killed. He is standing for a message. He's standing for principles. He's standing for something important and sees his life as worth giving to that particular cause. So think about that for yourself. Have you gotten to the point, and oftentimes people of this age get to the point where they're less concerned about what other people think. And they're more willing to speak their truth. And they're more willing to let others have, thank you, Cindy, I appreciate that. Let others have their opinions about things. And I want to say, I just read that yesterday. Good morning, Deb. A couple of times on Facebook. And it was something, it wasn't let it be. I want to say it's let them. And it's a whole movement about let them have their opinions of me. Let them have their frustrations and their angers with me. Let them. To detach yourself. Don't want to say separate necessarily, but detach yourself from the worry about what other people think, how your words or behaviors, someone else chooses to process those. It's do what you believe is right and let other people deal with their reaction to that. Yep, a couple of you saw it. Awesome. So let us practice embracing that. Is that easy to do? No, not when we've spent our entire lives being taught to be Midwest nice and especially as women to go along to get along. You know, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Sometimes it's important for us to say, I'm not okay with that. And let people have their reactions. I was working with a client last night, and she's struggling mightily with a newer relationship. It's a pretty brand new relationship, and already feeling herself acquiescing to the other person's way of doing things and worrying about asking instead of informing. I'm going to be doing X with so-and-so instead of, kind of is it okay with you if I, no, right? Yes, you don't have to have an opinion about everything. Absolutely true. And what I would love for us all to do in terms of vastly increasing our power is pay attention, make a conscious decision about what is it important to you to have an opinion about. What is most important to you? And what's most important to me may not be at all important to what someone else. For me, having equitable housing is important. Taking good care of our waters and Mother Earth is hugely important to me. And to other people, that may not matter at all. But again, as I said recently, if each of us just spoke truth about those things that are most important to us, everything would pretty much get covered. There's enough of us that we don't need to feel bad about, okay, so I'm not as concerned, or I don't choose to put my attention to X, Y, and Z. Those aren't my jam. Those aren't my topics of importance. but I speak to the ones that are my topic of self-importance. So I haven't hemorrhaged my precious energy into... I'll give you an example. My mom would send $5 to a bazillion organizations. My vote is pick one or two organizations and send them a bigger chunk of change, okay? You get more bang for your buck, my opinion, when you do it that way. So I'm going to go back to this paragraph because I think this is important. And this was part of what I was working with this woman on yesterday. Beyond any thought for the days ahead, you find yourself accepting this moment, which rains down the truth of what the journey is about. So as we were working, the pieces that were important were not just pointing out what this new partner is running amok on, but taking a look for herself in terms of how am I fostering this? How am I creating my part of this difficulty? What are my options in terms of addressing those issues within me? So if there are abandonment fears, rejection fears, wanting to be liked, all that stuff, that's her part of the process to address. Partner obviously has stuff to address also. But it doesn't do any good to take someone else's inventory and not have taken your own inventory in terms of how am I, wittingly or unwittingly, contributing to this situation. When we say something like, well, if he or she would just, we're giving away our power. What power do I have in this situation, in this circumstance, to make a difference, to influence how this goes? We go back to that idea of we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us. If someone early in a relationship starts saying snarky things and we don't call it out, kindly and lovingly, but we don't call it out, we are giving that person tacit approval to continue that kind of behavior. If we are starting a relationship with someone who, because of the experiences they've had, not trusting what you've said, and you don't call that out, you've got some work to do here. Obviously, that was your ex-wife. That's not me. You need to do some work on this. Not mine to fix this for you. And certainly not mine to take this on as if I have to justify everything or make you not feel that way. Not my jam. Not my jam. This is a little more pointed, but go get your shit together and then come on back and we'll see if this thing works. We don't do ourselves any favors. We do not treat ourselves like precious vintage when we allow things that aren't acceptable to continue. Call it out early. Call it out often. Call it out kindly and lovingly, but call it out, okay? Was also talking earlier in the day yesterday with someone else about the when we want to have something be important to other people, when it's important to us, but we're picking up that it's not important to them. How do we address that? How do we talk about that? Because to have that other person totally ignore something that's important to us, or vice versa, okay? So I'm going to make something up here. I'm in Wisconsin. It's a big hairy deal here oftentimes for many people, hunting season and fishing season. Big hairy deal. I'm not a hunter. That's not going to be that high on my radar screen. If I realize that for someone else it is really high on their radar screen, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to be supportive of that? Am I willing to assist in terms of allowing that to be their thing? And there are many people here who hunt, and that's what they use for meat for the winter, etc. It's a different ball of wax than where might be at in the middle of a huge city, right? So what am I willing to do to support those efforts? Again, if someone loves the symphony and the partner is not so cranked up about the symphony, can they go and enjoy it anyway? Enjoy the joy that it gives their partner? Or can they turn their partner loose and say, hey, go have fun. Find someone who really enjoys this and go do that with them. Thrifting, garage sailing, etc. There's some of us who really enjoy that. There are others who don't. Would I rather go do that by myself or go do that with someone else who enjoys it than someone who's slogging along behind complaining? Absolutely. If you can't do it with joy, for the joy that it creates for your partner, don't do it. Don't do it. But also see, can you stretch yourself to do it joyfully, to be a part of that part of your partner's life? Just some ideas, just some thoughts. Friends also. Friends often have things that they're all cranked up about. Well, my sister, very cranked up about everything dog. Everything dog. She sits on a group that provides funding for dogs who've been diagnosed with cancer. Animals, they'll do cats, etc. She does, picks up things at rummage sales like leashes and collars and whatever, and drops them off at the shelter because they don't have a whole lot of funding. Those things are really important to her. If I'm at a rummage sale and I see a great leash, am I going to pick it up, give it to her? Absolutely. Absolutely. So what will we do to support each other's hurrahs? And what will we do to support our own hurrahs? And to anticipate, invite others to participate in what's important to us, rather than hiding what's important to us under a basket, letting it shine, letting it shine. Speak your truth. And sometimes it's saying to somebody, I know you're not grooving on how important it is for us to save the Great Lakes. It's my jam. It's a big, hairy deal to me. So here and there, you're going to hear me talk about it. Put it out there. Put it out there. It's not avoiding those kinds of things. But I love this idea of precious vintage, that because of what we've been through, it has burnished us, made us more valuable to ourselves because of what we've gone through, that we appreciate that we are precious vintage, and we release the worry about how other people view us, etc., etc. So yes, the taking of someone's inventory. My visual for that always is this thing. If you're pointing your finger at somebody else, how many fingers are pointing back at you? Take your own inventory. Kindly and lovingly. Again, we are human beings, and that's something that shows up in the book also, where people are talking about, don't deify others. They're human beings. They're walking their talk. Are they going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Are they going to make mistakes? Yes. Are they going to be human? Are they going to have their gnarly days? Yes, 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 yes. That doesn't have to diminish the message for which they are standing up. All right? Yes, good stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. So step into that precious vintage that you are right now. Throw those shoulders back a little bit. Let's take a nice deep breath. And I want you to think in your mind, not from an arrogant ego perspective, but from this honoring of the precious vintage. Hi, here I am. It would serve you well to get to know me. It would serve you well to get to know me. And I want to get to know you. Put that out there. Send that energy. Be your best self. Be your precious vintage. Have an awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. Bye-bye.